For me, creating connections across political divides, there have been a number of moments where I have felt led to open myself up, and I have been changed, and I have sometimes fought that. Sometimes I've been dragged kicking and screaming into that kind of openness, but I'm taken there over and over again. I feel like that's where transformation of us individually and of us as a society will happen, is when we go to those places that we discern we need to go to, whether we want to go to them or not. I'm Kat Griffith. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a member of the Winnebago Worship Group, which is under the care of the Madison Monthly Meeting, which is part of Northern Yearly Meeting. There are several ways I wish we engaged more as friends in politics and in conversations about politics. One thing is I just wish more of us would go into it with a commitment to being obedient to whatever we're called to do. And I use that word deliberately, knowing that it ruffles feathers. I think it's obedience that takes us places that we might not choose, places that we might not expect. When I discern where to go, I don't always get the answer I'm looking for. I sometimes am told to go someplace I don't really want to go. When I became a homeschooler in this town, Ripon, with a lot of very conservative evangelical homeschoolers, we were appallingly far apart in our political views. And one day I had this idea, a very dangerous idea, of inviting them to talk about the things that divided us. A group of women and I got together over the course of about a year, a number of times, to talk about the things that we disagreed on. And the amazing thing that happened during that was coming to the realization that there was nobody in the room who was morally lazy. There was nobody in the room who was malicious. There was nobody in the room who didn't care. There was nobody in the room who was sloppy about coming to their views. Everybody had worked hard. And everybody had ideals that I didn't necessarily share the details or how that would manifest in the world, but I want that too. I want a safe community for my children too. You think that we're going to get there by locking more people up. I think we're going to get there by treating people differently than that. But we do want that same thing. And if we can recognize that it's a legitimate goal to have a safe community to raise our children in, that is an important start. It makes it impossible for me to demonize them as wanting something evil, wanting to hurt society, it's easy to fall into that. There really is that of God in everyone. It's so easy to say that. The words trip off your tongue. But how often do we really believe it? If I let these relationships enter my heart, that is what I find. One of the strongest influences for me in trying to hold this space across our political divides actually comes from John Woolman, the 18th century Quaker abolitionist. He spent the night in a ditch wrestling with God and himself about whether to go to Wyalusing. He had left home with the intention of going to visit Native Americans and see whether he might be of use among them, and violence had heated up. He was torn by two impulses. One impulse was he was afraid. It was a scary thing he was going into. And the other was pride, because he didn't want to not do it just because he was scared. But then he didn't want to do it to prove that he wasn't scared, right? He tussled with himself and with God all night about what to do. So that story to me is a very grounding one, and I try to look deep when I'm going into a situation where I feel like this is what I'm called to do. So for example, how it was that I came to get 85% of the vote in a 50-50 town on the board. The first time I ran was because the person who was running unopposed was a white Christian nationalist who believed in physical violence against the government, jury nullification. He taught his children the Second Amendment like another Bible verse. I was kind of horrified at the idea that he would be representing me formally, and so I went through a brief process of discernment, and I took out papers to run the very last day that I could, and I won 55% of the vote, but that meant that 45% were willing to vote for somebody with his views, and I found that disconcerting. I decided that I wanted to serve as a uniting presence. I didn't want to just judge people for having chosen him. So when the second time came, I decided to run again, and I did not have an opponent, and I decided I'm going to campaign anyway. And it isn't because I need their vote to win. I'm going to win if I don't do anything. But that's not what it's about for me. For me, it's about trying to unite this community. I canvassed. I went door to door, and I talked to all kinds of people. Some of them would say, well, why are you here if you don't need to be? And I said, it's because I want to earn your vote. I could win without you, but I don't want to. I'd like to win with you. Between the articles and my campaign, I got 85% of the vote, and it's a 50-50 town, so I think roughly that means I got about 70% of the Republican vote, which amazes me because I haven't changed who I am. Campaigning when I didn't need to was a way to say, I value you. I care what you think. It matters to me who you are and what you need and what you want and what you're experiencing. And I don't think a lot of people hear that very often. The work was uniting people. The work was listening to people. The work was being present to all kinds of people in the community. So yeah, it changed me. I see all the time that a lot of people around me are in a state of despair about what's going on in our country. There's also a way that I've been thinking about it that's been really helpful to me. I wrote an essay a while back. It's called All My Life a Pilgrimage to This Moment. This essay is about me realizing that all of the hard things that happened to me before now shaped me to be the person that I can be now, and gave me the tools that I need. I wish we would be willing to take more risks. I think that I have not taken as many risks as I should. I've only recently come to feel convinced that I am called to at least be willing to be arrested for my witness, whatever it is. I need to be willing to do nonviolent direct action. I need to be willing to do civil disobedience. I'm very aware of how much privilege I have, and I need to be willing to put myself on the line as a person of, I'm white, I have money, I'm retired, I'm healthy. I have no reason why I shouldn't do this. I have less to lose than almost anybody, so I figure it's probably on me. And I look forward to the day when it becomes clear exactly what that looks like. When I think of my whole life as a pilgrimage to this moment, I feel energized and joyous by the work ahead of me. I don't feel drained and exhausted and hopeless. I feel like, no, wasn't I made for this?
Thank you for watching this episode of QuakerSpeak. If you like this episode, please leave a comment and a thumbs up so we can reach even more friends. For more videos, click this playlist here. To subscribe to QuakerSpeak, click this here. And to support us, click here. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday.